bothering her. So we're going to head on over there and try to catch him.
Did you know that the average black person in the world is 3 times more likely to be killed by the police than the average white person? This is just one example of the many ways in which black Africans are still viewed as a threat today. Imagine this: you're a black African living in the 15th century. You're living your life peacefully, minding your own business. Then, one day, a group of white Europeans arrive in your village. They tell you that they're there to trade, but you quickly realize that they're actually there to enslave you. This is what happened exactly to millions of black Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. And it's just one example of how black Africans have been viewed as a threat by white people. Even though a number of people have refused to acknowledge this fact, it's really clear that a good number of white folks are afraid of black people. This fear is a result of a number of reasons that I'm going to point out to you in this video. In the past, white people have associated black people with criminality and hypersexuality. This has been the situation since the late 1800s. One reason why they feared black men was their vast wealth. Historically speaking, it's fair to say that black people were enormously wealthy, especially on the African continent. However, wealth doesn't always foster equality, does it? We can truly say that the wealth of black nations was and still is a great threat to white communities and nations even to this day. And this was the reason for many manipulative parasites to enforce oppressive relationships between white nations and black African nations, even to this day. To sum it up in simple terms, black Africans have been viewed as a threat due to their perceived physical superiority, potential for dominance, and historical wealth. But you may not understand this unless you take a good look at black history. Let me just start off by saying being black is not a crime, but somehow that seems to be the feeling you get everywhere you look. From police brutality to racism, even in healthcare, this whole thing has just gotten to another level of insanity. Africans came to the New World in the early 1500s, crossing many lands and oceans into North, Central, and South America. Africa was, at the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, a huge and diverse continent with more than 800 languages. History has it that the black continent is the birthplace of mankind and the cradle of civilization. I mean, you could do research like DNA proves, man. Like, a lot of DNA for people on Earth today can be traced back to ancient Africa. Alright, so naturally, some of the scientific developments in the world today came from the so-called black nations. For example, mathematics, engineering, medicine, and a lot of other bedrocks of civilization have got roots in Africa. To a large extent, black people have been considered as the strongest race among humans because of their charisma. Aside from the physical strength of black people, they've been known to possess the majority of the natural wealth of the world. From gold to silver, oil and natural gas, they are all abundantly deposited on the rich soil of Mother Africa. Funny enough, just like Thomas Edison and other great inventors in Europe and the global West, Africans have also made quite a number of world-changing inventions too. For example, they invented the 3-sign traffic light, the home security system, the folding bed, and a lot more. So, if the black race has made so much contribution to our world, why then are they viewed as a threat? Alright, so check it out. Here are 6 reasons why black people are seen as threats in general. Number 1, because of natural wealth. One of the major reasons why blacks are seen as a threat is due to the fact that they are blessed with the most deposits of natural resources compared to any other continent. Natural resources such as silver, gold, diamond, oil, gas, and other precious metals are in abundance in Africa. These are the reasons that nations go to war. These are the resources capitalists struggle to gain control of, yet they're abundant in Africa, untapped and underutilized. People can easily dig through a few layers of earth and find gold in many African countries, but this isn't so anywhere else in the world. I mean, that's a blessing, right? Well, maybe it's a curse. Number 2, the physical strength. In terms of physical strength, the black man's physiology is built to withstand more pressure and physical strain. This was an economic advantage the white slave owners exploited for the sake of profit, but today it's a source of stigmatization and racial discrimination in various healthcare systems in the global West. How can something meant to be a blessing turn out to represent so much bitterness? Even more insane is the fact that more white people consider black men to be more handsome, better built, and good in bed compared to white men, meaning that white women are likely to find black men more attractive than whites. Sometimes it seems as if the sole purpose of slavery, colonialism, and now racial discrimination is to turn the black man's blessings into his greatest curse. Number 3. The spirit of black unity. One successful strategy of white colonial masters and slave owners was to attack every symbol of black sense of common ancestry and unity. This was in the form of language, spiritual beliefs, and cultural dressing. So instead of Shango, the god of thunder, Africans were made to worship the white man's god. Instead of a traditional Kente and Bante attire, the black African man is tricked to wear the white man's suit and t-shirt. This is known as divide and rule. Another reason why white people fear the unity of blacks is that the unity of blacks will practically make them unbeatable. Just think about what many black people achieve on an individual level, and now imagine what it could be like if they were to be highly united. For example,
30% of Americans have college degrees.
4% of Nigerians hold a PhD. That, folks, is compared to 1% of the general U.S. population. They're way ahead. Also, 17% of Nigerians hold a master's degree and 37% have bachelor's degrees. These are people who are supposedly have no merit. According to data provided by Rice University in Texas, Nigerian Americans, folks, they are the most educated ethnic group in the United States. Sounds like merit to me. According to the Migrations Policy Institute, 29% of Nigerian Americans have graduate degrees. That is compared to 11% for the...
Number 4. Genetic annihilation. The black gene is believed to be the most dominant gene, so either way, if the white man marries the black woman, her gene's gonna dominate the white man's gene and vice versa. Hence, the fear of racial domination played a really pivotal role in black segregation in America and even apartheid in the black nations of South Africa. Man, fledgling beautiful romantic relationships between black men and white women, or vice versa, were highly discouraged and forbidden to keep the bloodlines pure. Like, man, that's a shame. Because we're talking about people like getting disowned and kicked out of their villages, and a lot of people were stoned and killed because, they were dipping in a color that wasn't theirs. Number 5. Intellectual strength. The Africans who immigrated to North America as slaves brought their traditions with them and made an effort to keep them alive. Despite the discrimination of the whites, the blacks have invented a lot of useful things we now use today. These include anything from useful everyday tools to applications to groundbreaking scientific findings in a variety of disciplines such as physics, biology, arithmetic, and medicine. Number 6. The fear of losing supremacy. The ultimate purpose of this racial war was to establish racial superiority. Philosophers like Socrates and Aristotle even believed that one race was born to lead while another was born to serve and follow. So you can naturally understand why every trick in the book would be employed to maintain the facade of the racial superiority of whites over blacks. Number 7. They have the most competitive athletes. Back in the day, sports was primarily a white man's game. If you were any color other than pale, you didn't stand a chance of getting to play, and that's because whites knew they couldn't keep up or jump. It wasn't until iconic legends like Moses Fleetwood Walker, Jackie Robinson, Jack Johnson, Willie O'Ree, and Althea Gibson faced down this ugly fascism and shattered the glass ceiling in sports that all people of color had a chance to show the world what they could do. For a long time, it might have seemed as if the racial discrimination between whites and blacks was an issue of science. It's clear today that to a large extent it's been sponsored by pure fear of one race towards another. But hey, you know what? I'm just one guy with an opinion, so let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. And do me a favor, please don't forget to subscribe and like if you haven't done so already, especially if you want to see more content like this. Every share, every like, that helps us get our content out there in front of other people, because people gotta know, man. They gotta know the truth. They gotta know what's what. I just want to say again, everybody, thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We'll see you in our next video.